Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings, a LOTRO guide. On this episode, I'm going to do advanced combat. Oh, I know it sounds scary, but I'll break it down for you. I'll try to make this less than a half an hour, but might be faster than that. Alright, so, advanced combat. Please, if you haven't watched my other one on simple combat, please go watch that one first, because it goes over a lot of stuff, like basic things that will help you with this video. You might be a little lost. Or if you want more advanced combat tips and you already know how to do basic things in LOTRO with movement and combat, then awesome. But check that video out. Also, check out, we are actually at Trestle Bridge here in the Lord of the Rings Online. This is our Voice of the Rings character for our Voice of the Rings channel. This is actually the character that we do our main part of this channel, Voice of the Rings. We make guides, obviously I make guides, but we also do a LOTRO Tale playlist, which is all about doing voiceovers and going through the story. So check that playlist out and a couple other playlists on the channel. But this is a LOTRO guide playlist. So if you want to learn about the game, Lord of the Rings Online, how to do stuff, you're in the right place, my friends. So where to start? All right. So I want to start with, so we're doing basic combat. So I want to start with the fact of aggro. What is aggro, you might ask? Aggro. Let's see. What is aggro, you might ask? Well, if aggro is as follows. Basically, when you go up to an enemy unit, let's find some orcs out here real quick, and I'll show you what I mean. Aggro is the distance when an enemy will start to attack you. There are two different kinds of things that enemies will aggro you with. There is a threat, usually done by an animal, where they will threaten you. This is a perfect example. Watch this boar. At a certain point, there's that magical thing. This is kind of like, it gets a little, with this kind of game and MMO, it gets kind of mathematical, but don't freak out from me saying that. I'm just saying, like, think of a giant magical circle around this target, right? So if I get to a certain point within his circle radius, he will threaten me, which is also his aggro range, right? So those are terms I'm trying to help you guys learn. So, oh wow, there it is. So he's a very tiny circle, but see how he says, threaten to attack you. So he's a threatener, right? So then I walked out of a circle, so he won't attack me. But if I do this again, watch this. Get in a circle. If I wait a few seconds, he's going to be angry. And now he's threatening me. Oh, see how the little thing went over his head and it's turned red and he's attacking me now? He gave me a warning, and I didn't listen to his warning, and he's like, you know what, die! Right? So, and it turned out bad for him. He shouldn't have done that. Again, level matters. If he was a few levels lower, I'm level 31 on this character, if he was level like 20, he would not have aggroed me at all. I could have just walked up to him and slapped him in the face and walked away, and he would not. He'd aggro me if I attacked him, but they know if you're higher level that they won't attack you. You can usually know that by the colors over things, right? So like, let's get this pig. See how his color is green, like the dark green? White would be on level. So if he was level 31, his name would be White. It's green. He's level 25. He's way under me, right? So that's it. Now, regular aggro, things that will aggro you without threatening, right? That is usually orcs and goblins and stuff. See this guy? So watch. He'll have an aggro range, ready? So when I walk up to him, he's got a big circle around him. He's probably a lot bigger than I'm still out of his aggro range. Realistically, you'd think he'd be able to see me right now, right? But it's not line of sight, guys. It's a giant circle, okay? So in this kind of game, so I could go in front of him and he still won't see me. Right? Because that's how this game mechanics work in Lord of the Rings Online. So he still doesn't see me. But once I get into his circle that's coming closer and closer to me, he'll attack me instantly. You'll see the aggro over his head. Boom, see? He had the little thing over his head? That he immediately aggroed me, okay? So that's what you need to know about, there's circles around everything. Sometimes you can block aggro ranges by hiding behind a tree or a rock. Kind of like his circle of vision is blocked if I was like maybe hiding behind this tree and he walked right past me, but I would have to do the whole sneak, like stay behind the tree wherever line of sighting him with his circle, right? That sometimes works. That doesn't always work. I'm just giving you that as a little example, right? All right. So now you know about aggro things. Now we need to talk about battle. So if you're in an instance, right, or a raid with your friends, there's different kinds of aggro. Tanks get abilities called force taunts, right? So you click on the target and you roar at them, and for a certain amount of time, no matter what the aggro is on any certain person in your group, they will attack the tank for that period of time. There's also damage aggro. If you've done the most damage to a target, so let's say it's something that has millions of HP in a raid, millions, right? So you're all beating on it, boom, boom, because like, look at these birds, they have like 400 health, it's nothing. Some creatures have millions, right? So you're fighting like a giant like elephant, right? You're fighting an elephant in the Pelennor Fields later, and you're beating on it, people with high damage have to be careful, because tanks have abilities that don't do as much damage but get more aggro, so they can hold the aggro. But if a damage dealer does too much aggro, it will switch. The raid boss will switch and attack the damager, right? So you have to think about that when you're doing it. Sometimes the damager will have to slow down to let the tank be able to rebuild its aggro level, right? There's like a amount of aggro that builds up on every character, whoever's doing damage on him, right, on the target. There's another thing called healing, right, in the game, right? So like if I heal, I can heal myself. If I click on an allied target, I can heal them. You can take aggro off a tank if you heal a certain amount. So if the tank just walks up and takes aggro on something like I did, without even doing an ability or autoing it, and then let's say the creature hits them, right, does damage to the tank, and then you click on the tank and you heal them, and the tank hasn't done anything to that target yet, that creature will immediately turn and attack you. If that does everyone follow my description of that? So once you heal them and they haven't done a taunt yet, they haven't auto attacked them yet, or done any abilities to them, they'll just come and start charging you as the healer, right? So that's something you have to think about as a healer, right? You have to make sure that everyone has targets and has already taken aggro and hit the enemies, right? So, because you keep healing, same thing as doing damage, you're building up an aggro to the thing your tank or person is fighting that you're healing. As in, at a certain point, if you heal too much and they haven't done enough damage to keep aggro, the target will come and chase you as a healer, right? That's how the system works with the computer. Now, again, there's another thing too. So that's really what you need to do with aggro, with attacking, with healing, with force taunts. Is if you're a tank, I'm playing a healer character, right? So another thing that you need to think about. So if there's multiple enemies in a raider instance, multiple, right? So you've got like 5 or 10. Let's say the tank has the time to hit or taunt the main target, then you heal him thinking you're safe. But there's 4 or 5 other units that were about to attack him. Now that he hasn't hit them yet, or none of your other people have hit them to take aggro, all those units are suddenly going to just charge at you to kill you because you healed them. Same thing you have to worry about, right? Say now, on another point, let's say you're the damage dealer. You're not the healer. You're not the tank. I hope healing and tank and damage dealer makes sense to everyone. The tank is the one that usually is in the front, takes the damage, keeps the guy hitting them. The healer is what heals everyone. That's kind of self-explanatory. The damage dealer is usually someone who just kills things, right? Does a lot of damage to kill the bosses and the enemy NPCs, as we know that all these things that aren't players, non-person player, that are enemies, right? So, again, my train of thought, I don't want to lose my train of thought for you guys. I'm trying to make this clear how I explain this for you guys. So there's a thing called, now that you know about healing, aggro, damage, tanks, all that kind of stuff with how you can take aggro with damage and healing, there's a thing called AoE, area of effect, right? If you're brand new to games, this isn't a lot of games though, so you probably know what this word means already. But basically what it means is if I hover these skills, if I hover this one, discerning piercing cry, right? It's a little bit small. I wonder if I can blow this up for you guys real quick. Let's see if I can blow this up a little. All right, so it doesn't make the thing bigger though. It just makes those bigger. Okay. Well, anyway, it says, so there's a description right under the main name at the top there in that little box that shows up, right? So it says right under there, I'm just going to read it to you because it's kind of small for you guys to see, but it says immediate, right? So what that means is when you're clicked on an enemy target, this is a damage ability. When you click it, there's almost nothing. It just immediately casts the ability. You immediately roar. There's a thing, because the reason you need to know this, there's a thing called inductions, right? So like, example, this healing ability. If you look under, it says it's fast cast, right? Faster, tactical skill. And it says right under there, induction, 1.4 seconds. Everyone knows what an induction is. It's an overtime buildup of something, right? So you're overtime building it up, right? So a lot of the times you have to be aware of that because inductions can be interrupted if you're being attacked. So as a healer, see, this other heal takes 2.7 seconds. If people are hitting you, it's going to be setting back your bar. For example, let me get this bird to come at me. Come here, bird. Come fight me. Okay, so this bird's going to try to come kill me, right? So I'm going to start my heal. Watch how, see this induction bar right here, this blue one? So it was rather easy for me to do it anyway because he's so low level. Let me, let's go back over. Let's get some more orcs, okay, to attack us. So let's get this orc to attack us, okay? So watch. I'm going to try to heal. See that induction bar right here, this blue thing? So I actually didn't get interrupted for some reason, but Yeah, see how it went back? The blue bar went back when I got hit. That's called, it's interrupting my induction. But it won't interrupt my piercing cry because it's instant. See, it just cast instantly. Most of the minstrel's attack abilities are instant. See, I can throw stuff. No, those are instant, right? Those are all happening just instantly. When I click on them and I click the ability, they just go off. There's a little bit of an animation, but they're instant because it just says there's no induction. It doesn't say induction. It doesn't say a time for the damage abilities I have. Now, back to what I was saying. AoE, right? I just wanted to make sure you guys knew about inductions and instant with skills. AoE, area of effect. This one says underneath max target 3. So you know this is an AoE spell, meaning it can hit more than one target. This is important because if you have a tank fighting a target and he's trying to AoE and try to keep all the ads on him too, if you do a big AoE damage spell, he's mostly doing his tanking aggro on the main target. If you AoE and hit the main target with an AoE, and you're not supposed to do an AoE spell, you might hit the little mobs, and they aren't being aggroed as much because he's not directly attacking them as much. He's only doing a little tiny bit of damage with an AoE ability of his own every so often. They might switch and attack you. So you might be in a raid where they'll say, do not AoE. Don't do your AoE skills, you guys. You have to just target the tank's target, which is in basic combat. There's a target assist system. And use your singular damage target, single. So that's a good thing to remember. That's another thing about aggro with AoE, guys. So you have to really think about that. You get stunned in the game. There's different levels of stuns, fears. If you get knocked out, it usually brings a little thing up here. If you get knocked out, it'll tell you about it. If you get rooted, it's usually like a little icon under your name here at the top left under your icon, and it'll have like a net with a foot, like you've been rooted. There's one that has like an exclamation mark when you've been knocked out, and your character won't be able to move. You'll be able to do skills. You'll be knocked out. This ability that you have as a minstrel, a lot of characters have an ability like this. It's immediate. It frees from any combat state, shakes off dazes, stuns, and fellowship maneuver stuns, recover from being knocked down, but not from dread and full immobilization. Okay, what this means is, guys, don't freak from all those words. Shake off dazzles. Dazzles are like a flash of light where your character's kind of stunned, but it's not a super stun. And then there's stuns, where you were stunned by some magical ability, or you were knocked out by a troll stun, that kind of thing. A fellowship maneuver stun is an ability usually done by burglars. Fellowship maneuvers are a thing where they're kind of outdated now, but basically what fellowship maneuvers are is a burglar can cast them, and then you can click, there's like this 4 circle thing that comes up, and it's got like heal, damage, bleed, and yellow is bleed, heal is green, mana is blue, red is just flat out big damage. So basically that's a fellowship maneuver. So you can get out of that, and basically only free peoples can do it, and it gives you an ability, and you do like all the greens together, and there's like patterns you can do as a fellowship that gives you certain buffs and abilities. So it's kind of cool. You can look into that. I could do a video on fellowship maneuvers, but it's a little harder, so I probably won't make one on that because it's real simple and it's kind of outdated. They haven't updated it, so it's really only good to like level 50 to use them, but it's really good. Burglars can activate fellowship maneuvers really easily, and a really good critical hit can in a group too. So that's how fellowship maneuvers work. Yes, and don't want to lose my train of thought. I don't want to confuse you guys where I was in my lecture here on advanced combat. We're talking about stuns, yes. So anyway, that's what those are. And then it says also you can recover from being knocked down, a little different than a stun. Knocked down means your guy will actually be on his knee on the ground. Like, it'll get you out of that. And then it will not remove dread and full immobilization. That means dread is when you get the Eye of Sauron and your health bar is going away and you're getting red health bar, and you start getting the Eye of Sauron in the corner and your character starts cowering. You can't get out of that with this ability. You only get out of that by adding a hope token to yourself or having certain armor that gives hope. Counteract that. I talked about that a little bit in my basic interface video if you want to hear more about that. But hope and dread system is up here in the corner. You can see it in the mini map. So I have neither hope nor dread, so I'm just at a full 100% health. So, but that will actually immobilize you if you start taking a lot of dread. So that's what that's talking about. And then full immobilization is basically because of that. Yeah, you can't get out of it. There's also a thing being silenced. So this actually will get you out of being silenced, I believe. Or no, what's the same one get you out of being silenced? Silence is basically you lose your voice. Right? And as a voice of the rings, I would hate that. But you get my point. You lose your voice command. So as a minstrel, almost all your abilities use your voice. Your music, your yells, everything. Your instrument, you might still be able to use your instrument abilities, but all your things that are calls, Call of Omari, Call of Fate, Dissonating, Piercing Cry, those will all go away unless you can remove that. Usually I believe this Story of Courage removes that, possibly, because it depends on what it is. There are 4 different conditions. Now these are another thing that enemies can put on you. There's fears, which usually are what usually silence you. So you can use Story of Courage to counter it, to remove it. And a lot of other characters have abilities to remove this stuff too, like Guardians have Ignore the Pain, and they can remove wounds and stuff. But this allows you to remove fears, disease, poisons, and wounds. Wounds are usually like a fire on you, or you're bleeding, or something. Poisons are they sound like they're poisons, and diseases are diseases, right? Fire wounds are usually fire too. So you can remove them by using the Story Courage, and then this one will get you out of the stun, right? So that's what those are. Those are conditions in the game when you're fighting certain bosses. There's lots of mechanics in certain raids so I can't explain and go through all the mechanics for you guys. But yeah, I know you guys know about aggro. Now you guys know about the healing and aggro. Now you guys know about stuns conditions and all those things. You know about the wounds, fears, poisons conditions. They're kind of separate things. So stuns, mobilizations, dazes, those are different from fear, wounds, poison, but they're all debuffs on you. Almost always. They're things that you want to remove off you. You might be okay to leave them on, but you want to remove them usually, right? So now you know about aggros and then force taunts from tanks and damage dealers and single target and AoE, right? To recap everything we're talking about. So this is all good stuff. AoE distance, right? Aggro distance. Again, you can aggro something from much farther than its circle by using ability, because these abilities will also tell you their range. My Piercing Cry is a 45 meter range, and we talked about range in the basic combat video, so go back and check that. I just walked into his circle of aggro, but I'm just going to roar at him anyway. But see, I'm not going to walk for example, I'm not going to walk in the circle of these two guys, but I could click them from here and attack them. One last thing I want to tell you guys in this video: when you're doing battles like this, basically it's good to think of learn about your abilities and what's a good chains of abilities. For example, this ability says that deals AoE light damage and reduces further light damage resistance. So it actually reduces their resistances, right? But for example, if I'm doing damage and I get this guy, aggro him, and let's say I get this guy pretty low, okay? Now, okay, so he's really low on health, but the other guy's full health and he's right next to him. I did not mean to cast that ability. But what happens basically is, if I had cast Omen, it would have been smart to cast Omen on the guy with low health next to the guy, him, because what I would have done is this would have cast, it would have killed the target I had and AoE'd and hit this guy, right? And then his damages would be weak to light, and I could use another ability on him, right, to kill him, if that makes sense. See, I have a wound on me right here. There's a light wound, and I could remove it or just wait for it to go away, but... Alright. So, things to think about with AoE spells and how you stack your spells up and which ones do reductions, how you want to debuff someone. Do you want to take the time to debuff someone with certain debuff spells if you're like a lore master? These are all good things to think about in combat. This is more advanced combat stuff to think about. And so, yeah. So I think that's probably good for this video. I didn't want to make it go too long. We'll keep it here. But now you kind of know more advanced things about combat. I know most of it was talking. I showed you a little bit, obviously, of the aggro circle. So he's out of aggro circle. And now I'm in his aggro circle right now. There he is. See, I aggro. And another thing to think about, guys, with aggroing when you're doing questing and stuff. Did you see how the bird aggroed too? It looked like he was in range. But in reality, if people are close together, enemies, if you hit one of them when they're close together like this in a camp, you'll aggro both of them. You can't just pull one of them. Look. See how it aggroed both? Because they were next to each other. They had aggro circles, and they're kind of near each other enough to realize the enemy is. You can sometimes trick this up and get someone, you know, out of position and like pull someone off the side. But usually that's basically about it. You're gonna, yeah. If that makes sense. So anyway, I think that's probably good for this video. Now you kind of understand advanced aggro and advanced combat. I can do more details. Please, if you're confused on something, guys, leave a comment in the comments on this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Check out the fun channel part of my channel too, that's voiceovers and running through the story. But I just wanted to do an advanced combat video for you guys to give you a little gist so you're kind of ready. So when you jump into a raid or an instance, you're not like, there people are mad at you like, stop AoEing. You're like, what does that even mean? Or stop healing me before I take aggro. What does that even mean? Or you're doing too much damage. I can't keep aggro, the tank says to a damage person. You're like, what does that mean? Now you understand all those, how to fix all of those issues, right? And how to deal with all those things. And how things are pulled and how they have circles of aggro and at certain distances, and it's all mathematical numbers with their circles, like a geometry thing with aggro, and then when it comes to then your tank hitting them to keep aggro and your damage dealers doing damage, whoever's doing better aggro keeping, that's a number game. And same thing with healing, you can take aggro, right? It's a number game. If you heal too much and your tank hasn't done enough damage or enough aggro abilities, you'll take aggro. A lot of times tanks can fix that by using a force taunt, as I told you, where they click on someone and they're forced to attack them for like 10 seconds no matter what. But still, tanks usually have better abilities that don't do as much damage, but keep more aggro. So the damage people and healing people don't get aggro if you play it right in an instance or raid. So anyway, thanks again guys for watching this video. I hope that helped you out. And I'm always here, your host and guide, Zolan Ironshield. And I will see you in my next videos, and I hope that helped you guys out. So you'll know how to do advanced combat in the future. And please, leave a comment if you have other questions that you'd like me to make a video about something else, or a certain thing I said in the video you want a little bit more clarity on something. I can make another video on things. But I don't want to make this video too long, and I think that explained it to you guys pretty good. I will have a playlist later that'll be on instances and raids, so you'll actually be able to see some first-hand experience of this, and I can even talk in those videos a little bit to give you some more, actual hands-on, or at least in this sight on of what I'm doing. So thank you guys again. Have a good one, and I hope you have a wonderful day in Middle Earth.